right? This is Markane Alan, and if you don't know already, I'm a very, very, very quiet person. Very, I kind of research life, so to speak. But when people ask me questions or people come up and they share what's going on with them in their life, I give what God gives me to give. And when people ask me questions, I'm trying to answer them to the best of my knowledge. I don't really talk about things I don't know about. And as that saying goes, I don't scratch my head unless it itch, and I don't dance unless I hear music. But anyhow, a question was posed to me this morning because it was a big debate, and I did get permission to discuss this and post something about it. So, a young man had asked another guy about being an entrepreneur, and the other guy was telling this young man, and I kind of hate this statement and this saying, all you have to do is, because none of life is all you have to do is, and when people tell you that, it's because most times it's because they done got to where they're okay or they're successful in their eyes, and so now they want to make it seem like, it was so easy, it was so simple, and neglecting to tell a person the truth of the hard work and the grind. And I'm not saying everyone does that, because there are a lot of people that tell you that you will literally feel like you spitting blood sometimes, some days, because you'll be exhausted. And the different variables when it comes to working for yourself and working a job. Stress is always there. There's just different levels of it. When you're working for somebody else, they're controlling most times and manufacturing your stress. When you're working for yourself, it's usually because you're trying to figure something out. And a lot of working for yourself and being an entrepreneur is trial and error. And that whole word in itself, entrepreneur, is so popular, so hip, so trendy now. They're teaching classes about it, and you can go to school for it. But at the end of the day, it's grinding, it's hustling, it's bootstrapping, it's doing what you got to do. It's weighing the fact of if you're going to do this or do that. It's driving or trying to get to that appointment or that client because you know that it's going to be a payoff because you got bills to pay. And anybody who try to make it seem like it's supposed to be structured, you're supposed to have 1 to 3 years of savings and open a bank account and have this and have that and have this and have that, and you go get this and get your business name and then get your trademark. And when people ask you those questions when you're just starting out, it's like, I got to be honest with you, unless you got some kind of funding or you done got a grant or you doing something with your EIN or something like that, man, ignore them people, man. Get your stuff off the ground, get your foundation, do what you got to do to establish yourself. But establish yourself here. It's a definitely mindset, because that shift from working for somebody to being an entrepreneur is totally different. It's very difficult, and you're going to be put to the test more than you ever have working with somebody. Because see, when you're working with somebody, you can go home. But when you're working for yourself, you're working for yourself at home, in the car, on your way to the next place. And depending on what industry you're in, and I'm not here to tell you these horrible war stories and these horrible stories that make you quit. I'm here to tell you these stories so you be prepared. And it's just things that you'll go through. In my industry, when I first started doing in-home personal training, people that I knew were like, "You crazy, driving all around." Now at this time, I was staying like in one area of Chicago. I was in the downtown area, so I wasn't really driving that far, other than me coming from Indiana to go downtown. So I stayed in one area. A lot of times I stayed in one building or a few buildings, and I circulated, but I got talked about. And then at that time, maybe a year or two later, about a year later, I went on Skype and started training people. And people started talking about me for doing that. How you train people online? How do you know what to do? How do you do the assessment? How do you do that? I remember Skype was so grainy. And then people were trying to tell me different programs. You can get on this website and do the training. It's like, why? Just use the free outlet I have, and train people. The thing for me with what I do is helping people. Whether it's online, whether it's in person, whether they come to me, I go to them, whether it's one person or a million people or 1,000 people, it's about helping people. about helping people stay alive, about helping people stay healthy, about helping people survive, about helping people stay strong mentally, spiritually, physically, whatever. You know, fighting for our life. That's it for me. You know, and so being an entrepreneur, it's gonna be times when you have so much going on, whether it's family-wise, personal, business-wise, and you're still gonna have to show a good face and show up for what you're doing. You know why? Because it's yours. Because it's yours. And remember this, because if you got up every day and you had a job and you worked for someone and you went in there with a smile after they done shoveled you shit, or talk shit about you, or said some shit about you, or told you that you're in danger of losing your job if you don't do this and do that, and you still smiled and yes sir, yes ma'am, and did your job, then you can do it for yourself. If you bring home the stress of helping somebody else's business grow, or helping something else grow for someone else, and it keeps you up at night, it worries you, you're arguing with your significant other, you're yelling at your kids, then you can do it for yourself. If you put in extra hours and you're not getting paid because your salary, or because, you know, they don't do overtime once it gets so far, then you can do it for yourself. You know, so be prepared to truly work when you're working for yourself. Be prepared to take losses. And remember this, the thing about a fight, and a lot of people who have worked for themselves for so long, I'm over 25 years now, is that, you know, if you got bullied growing up, or you got into fights, I got into a lot of fights growing up. I got bullied growing up, you know, and then I got into martial arts. So it's like, used to taking hits. So life is gonna throw hits. The world is gonna throw blows at you. You know, you may be driving, true story, one day, and there's flames coming out of your hood. Do you pull over to the side and panic, or do you keep driving to this new client that you have that was highly referred? You know, you're only 5 minutes away. All you gotta do is get there. You know, hopefully you still got that fire extinguisher in your trunk. Pop your hood. Let your car cool off while you go in and do this assessment, a consultation, and training session. Talk to the family about nutrition after you do their assessment, a consultation with their parents, do the training session, and it's about an hour, maybe 35, 40 minutes. Now you can leave when your car done cooled down. Guess what? You're gonna pull up a block away from their home so they don't see you in case they leave, and you're gonna call your mechanic and tell them what's going on, or call somebody and say, hey man, you think I can make it back to Indiana? Oh yeah, you know. Or you're gonna call and get that tow truck, or you're gonna drive on a prayer. You know why? Because you got somebody to feed. And even if you don't have kids or significant other to feed, you still got yourself to feed. So that's what comes with working for yourself. The fight every day, the fight. The same thing you're willing to do for somebody else and take those hits, you're willing to do it for yourself. That's the difference. And that word is grinding. That word is hustling. That word is good business, character business, work ethic. The entrepreneur, that's commercial. That's commercial. That's after everything's flat for a while. You know, but with business, true business, there's ebbs and flows. It goes like that pulse line, goes like charts, goes like oceans, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. Good months, bad months. Billionaires, millionaires go through it all the time. Six-figure people go through it all the time. You just don't see it. You know why? Because you're not trained to see it. But when you go into a store and you see a massive clearance sale or a massive sale, that's because they may have taken a hit. They got to get rid of merchandise to cover something, or they got to. It's all the same, but it's all trial and error. Don't let nobody defeat you out of working for yourself. Don't let nobody defeat you if you realize that working for yourself is not for you, and you need to set up a system and work within a system. Be the best at whatever you swing at in life. Be the best at whatever you swing at in life. Be the best at whatever you have to fight against in life. And just know that whatever you go into, whether you want to be the best employee that rises to CFO, COO, CEO, boss, owner, just know you gotta be prepared to take hits, and you gotta be ready to fight for your life on anything, man. Either way. And at the end of the day, always be prepared to work I survived a lot in my industry because I will outwork anyone. You ask my peers, I ain't got to brag, right? People know I've trained people from 2 in the morning until midnight, all day. Oatmeal bowls and little bowls of food and shakes and stuff like that. I don't, my peers can tell you that. I've driven around cities, driven from all the way to this side of town in Illinois, 2 hours away, driving to Wisconsin, driving to here, driving. I've burnt out so many cars in 20 years. So many cars, good cars, not so good cars, the best cars. You know, it's like carrying weights in my trunk, carrying equipment in my back seat, driving here, driving there. I've trained people online in numerous countries, you know, numerous states, numerous cities. You know, it's like that's, you know, and at the end of the day, the best reward, the best pay is knowing that people are still alive and still healthy. You know, I didn't lose any clients during COVID. You know, we stuck together, we trained online, you know, trying to keep the spirits up. You know, people got sick, but at the end of the day, people, they made it, they survived. So just know, be ready to put in the work. And don't look for the glamorous if you don't put in the work. Don't look for the end result if you're not putting in the work. And work on your stuff more than you have ever worked for anybody else. Work on your stuff more than anything you've done for anybody else. Value you. Put the work ethic into you. Make you important in what you're trying to do and accomplish. And don't be afraid to ask for help. And be careful of all the gimmicks that's out. Well, buy this, and if you do this, you'll produce this, and this. That's cool. Some of them work, but a lot of them you gotta work it yourself. So it's okay to not follow a traditional path. It's okay if you went to school, got a business management degree, and realizing that really ain't how it works. It's okay. But just be prepared to work and always fight for your life. Peace.